If this was the start of a film, we imagine that at this point, you'd see a map of Scotland as if viewed from above. The map is green and blue and grey. Imagine that now. The map, as the camera slowly moves in on it, closer, bigger, and the place names become clearer in a kind of old-looking calligraphy like on pirates' maps. Or maybe it's more like chalk on a chalkboard. Or maybe your map is more of a sans serif font like on Google. And then a voice in voiceover says, "This is a story that has multiple beginnings, an abundance of middles, and no clear end. It starts for our purposes right here, in this arts venue on the south side of Glasgow, with each of you here. But it also starts, amongst other places, above our heads. Here." This man is called Howard. He is 67 years old. He clutches his crumpled boarding pass in his hand. Origin, New York JFK. Destination, Prestwick International Airport. A one-way ticket. The print has been smudged slightly from the sweat from his thumbs over the course of his 6-hour journey across the Atlantic. He has never left America before now. He has been saving, preparing for this moment. For this. He thinks about the military pipe music his granddaddy used to play back home in Lincoln, Nebraska. He thinks about the hours he spent up late by himself, Googling the real meaning of those mysterious and ancient-sounding words. He hadn't considered until recently that he might actually move there. But here he is. He has brought a phrase book of Scots words with him for the journey. Stravage, verb. To wander, noun, a journey without purpose. Dwam, noun, a stupor or a daydream. Fankle, verb, to tangle, to twist. Noun, an entanglement, a state of disorder or confusion. Fankle. Wow. It took Howard a long time to really think of Scotland as an actual place where people were born and lived and died. For longer than that, it had been an ambiguous reference point, somewhere utterly relevant to who he is, but in an invisible and under-acknowledged kind of a way. It later became a semi-mythical place, a point of explanation, a Babylon and a Zion, the fire of the clearances that packed his ancestors off to Canada, their subsequent journey south. Howard thinks about this journey often. He feels it in his bones. He was 50 years old when he first watched Braveheart, and it changed his life. Even if some of it was made up, sure. I mean, Howard's nobody's fool. But that very week he bought himself a kilt. Jeez Louise, he felt powerful. His varicose roots swelled out of his Celtic warrior legs, and he knew at that moment that one day those warrior muscles were going to take him home. Since then, he has been real sad about Mel Gibson drink driving and beating up his wife. And the anti-Semitism that had really got under Howard's skin, particularly due to his deep affection for the work of Rabbi Burns. Just kidding. Come on. Howard's not an idiot. He knows that Scotland's bard isn't really a rabbi. It's just his name. He wrote Mel's agent a letter telling him how badly he felt that Mel was letting the site down. Before this, he had watched Trainspotting on late-night pay-per-view and was so intrigued. This is so fucking exotic, Howard had thought. My people are the most complex sons of bitches on this godforsaken earth. This explains a lot. Other shit happens. The time is now, whatever the time is, the actor had a watch. Anyone got the time?
9:49.
The time is now 9:49 Prestwick local time, and Howard is still above us in the clouds. He flicks through the in-flight entertainment options, but his mind is somewhere else. Somewhere between the twin poles of Braveheart and Trainspotting, Howard had felt the universe offering him an explanation of himself. So why now, exactly this month in 2014, Howard doesn't think that this is a life crisis or anything like that, even with everything that happened with Angie and the dog. Well, Howard doesn't know exactly why. Retirement offered some options, he supposed, but he'd like to think it went deeper than that. A fever in the blood, an ancestral reaction, some kind of calling, surely it had to be, right? He settles on the screen that shows the progress of the flight path. The little graphic of his aircraft edges ever closer towards place names that sound both familiar and alien all at once. He whispers them to himself. The shape they make on his tongue bring a tremble of anticipation, a tiny clenching of the teeth. Lanark. Meth Hill. Bridge of Allen. His pupils dilate. There was a word for this. He reaches for his phrasebook. Yivery, adjective, anxious for, waiting, hungry. The jigsaw to Howard's soul has been missing a piece, and by gosh, he might be about to find it. He returns his phrasebook to the net sleeve on the back of the seat in front of him, next to the in-flight emergency procedure information and the Visit Scotland brochure, which stares back at him with the words, "Discover the land that inspired Disney Pixar's Brave." My people, thinks Howard. My people. Here I come. Still up in the sky, but closer, much closer now, sits this man. Howard is still staring at the digital avatar of his aeroplane on the tiny screen in front of him. The numbers tick off the altitude counter, descending. He reaches for his phrasebook. Rant, verb, to frolic, romp, revel, noun, a merrymaking, a rough frolic, a lively song of joy. Soon the runway will rise up to meet him. He feels the sacred soil of his ancestors call to him, an ancient pull so much stronger than gravity. He imagines leaving the airport, the last of the sunlight swelling in the sky above, light drizzle flecking his face, the bright runway lights, his heart opening to this moment. He does not yet know that when the moment passes, he'll be surrounded by the words "pure, dead, brilliant" in big letters. As he imagines venturing out from the airport in pursuit of history, heritage, communities of the ancient tongue, he doesn't know that days from now, a man in a service station on the road to Fort William will tell him that nobody speaks that Gaelic stuff anymore, and to be honest, he's not really sure why they bothered doing the road signs in 2 languages. Ranter, verb, to sow a seam across roughly, to darn coarsely, to join, to attempt to reconcile statements which do not tally. There are many things he doesn't know about the story playing out below him. These are all references to other characters that you would have met had you seen the play. He doesn't know about a young man crossing the water on a boat, leaving an island with no plan of going back, or a small boy who runs through the streets of Govan Hill singing, or about a schoolgirl who at this moment walks towards a supermarket with a golf club in her hand, or a travelling market researcher walking the streets of Glasgow looking for company. He doesn't know about a woman on the number 61 bus on her way to her first shift at work imagining all the people singing, or a venture capitalist in Edinburgh surveying the people below, or a drunk man on the coast having a moment of clarity, or was it delusion as a stranger teaches him that all things are connected, all our futures are shared and each of us has our part to play, and he doesn't know that when he steps off the vessel, standing on the tarmac between the plane and the shuttle bus, he will immediately experience a shattering disappointment and an inevitable defeat. He will feel instantly homesick for Lincoln, Nebraska. But in a strange way, in that moment, he will look at himself, his body, his own hands, as if for the very first time. As he steps onto the shuttle bus, a young Paisley-born woman will observe in passing that it looks like rain. Yes, Howard will say, exchanging a smile. It's looking very tree. Cheers.